From Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Samana, Siddiqui. First, the headlines. Global military spending tops $2 trillion for the first time in history. Baloch terrorists kill 3 Chinese and a Pakistani in Karachi. Indonesia bans palm oil exports as cooking oil crisis emerges. Young girls falling easy prey to online blackmailing in Yemen. Trump held in contempt of court for failing to hand over documents. Concerns and cheers as Elon Musk buys Twitter. Our top story tonight. Global military spending surpassed $2 trillion for the first time ever last year. The United States spent more on its military capacity than the next 9 nations combined, according to new data published Monday. The U.S. accounted for $801 billion, or 38% of total global military spending. The Stockholm International Peace Research Institute reported an all-time high of $2.1 trillion in worldwide military spending for 2021, a 0.7% increase from 2020. It is the 7th straight year of increased expenditures. Senior researcher Diego Lopez da Silva said even amid the economic fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic, world military spending hit record levels. Sweden and Finland have agreed to submit simultaneous membership applications to the U.S.-led NATO alliance as early as next month, Nordic media reports. Finland shares an 810-mile border with Russia. The Daily Guardian reports UK's Defence Secretary Ben Wallace said about 15,000 Russian troops have been killed since the start of the invasion on February 24th. Meanwhile, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said on Monday, America's goal is to see Russia so weakened that it would no longer have the power to invade a neighbor. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen is the latest Western official to urge India to distance itself from Russia over the war in Ukraine. Russia's war on Ukraine is now causing a rise in global cooking oil prices. Indonesia, the world's biggest producer of palm oil, has banned its exports. It faces a shortage of cooking oil made from the product. Meanwhile, restaurant owners are struggling because of higher vegetable oil prices. Within a few months, the price of oil has doubled. The prices of varieties of cooking oils used in thousands of products, including chocolate and margarine, are going up. Ukraine and Russia combined ship more than 75% of global exports of sunflower oil, one of the world's 4 leading edible oils. That disruption is causing a higher demand for palm oil. Malaysia and Indonesia produce about 85% of the world's palm oil. At least 4 people, including 3 Chinese nationals, were killed as an explosion ripped through a van inside a university campus in the southern Pakistani port city of Karachi on Tuesday, police said. The explosion targeted the vehicle near the University of Karachi's Confucius Institute, a Chinese language learning center. According to Raja Umar Khitab, head of Karachi Police's counter-terrorism cell, the attack was carried out by a female suicide bomber. The Balochistan Liberation Army is designated as a terrorist group by Pakistan, the United States, the UK, and the European Union. Newly elected Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif expressed grief and sorrow over the loss of Chinese nationals. I strongly condemn this cowardly act of terrorism. The perpetrators will surely be brought to justice, he said in a tweet. Last July, 9 Chinese workers were killed in a suicide attack in northern Pakistan. Oman has secured the release of 14 foreigners who were held in Yemen by Houthi rebels, the Omani Foreign Ministry said Sunday. Among the people released were nationals of the UK, Burma, the Philippines, and India. All 14 were transferred to the capital Muscat via an Omani military plane. Yemen has been engulfed by violence and instability since 2014. That was when Iran-aligned Houthi rebels captured much of the country, including the capital, Sana'a. Syrians convicted of cybercrimes could now be imprisoned for up to 15 years over minor criticism of the regime of Bashar al-Assad. According to the state-run Syrian Arab news agency, Damascus this week adopted the new law. The punishment for cybercrimes now ranges between up to 15 years in prison and $12,000 in penalties. Anyone found guilty of calling for changes to the government or constitution, which is already a crime, will be further penalized. The law makes it easier for Syrian security services to monitor, control, and detain people who express negative views about the Assad regime. They could receive between 7 to 15 years for that. Members of Canada's South Asian diaspora have issued a statement condemning the most recent wave of violence against Muslims in India. They tracked the recent anti-Muslim trend in the country from the hijab issue in January to widespread communal violence in April. The statement condemns the violence unleashed by Hindu right-wing groups affiliated with the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party. It also notes the country has seen a steady increase in Islamophobic and misogynist actions taken by Hindu fascist groups over the last few months. The group called out the Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad, the BJP's youth wing, for demanding a meat ban and assaulting meat vendors, mostly from Muslim or low-caste communities. Amid the devastation of war and mounting human casualties, Yemen is grappling with yet another serious threat. online blackmailing of young girls. Yemeni women's rights advocate Nabila Saeed told Andalu agency there are many overlapping reasons making girls vulnerable to online blackmail. Lack of digital literacy among young girls and using communication devices impulsively make them easy prey, she said. Saeed noted girls' insensitivity in sharing personal photos or videos online, the absence of family control, and poverty are also factors. Saeed said poverty drags many young girls into fake relationships online. Blackmailers often promise their targets work, money, or even marriage in exchange for their inappropriate photos. Former President Trump is being held in contempt of court. An update on this and more domestic news stories after this break, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Imam Abdul Malik Mujahid, walking up and down the world's largest refugee camps. I met Sister Fatima. Well, I'm calling her a sister. She was just a teenage girl, my granddaughter's age. Her parents were slaughtered by the Burmese military, and she was dragged by the Burmese soldiers to their hut, and all night long she was violated. She lost consciousness. When she regained, and in the morning and soldiers were themselves away, she ran and hid in a vegetable patch. Some people saw her, gave her clothes, and took her 4-day-long walk to Bangladesh. Who will speak up for her? Who will stand up for her if not you and I? It's our responsibility. It's our duty, brothers and sisters in humanity. And that's why I like you to support Burma Task Force. I'm a volunteer for it. But Burma Task Force is standing up to stop this genocide, violation of our sisters. You and I are free, they are not. Please stand up, work with Burma Task Force, and donate today to Burma Task Force. Together, we can do it. Assalamu alaikum.
Billboards are popping up all over the country with an
Our neighbors don't
eye-catching
realize
message.
that Muslims are absolutely opposed to ISIS. Salam. My name is Abdul Malik Mujahid. I'm an imam in Chicago.
16 shots! No me! No justice! No me!
So how do we bring up the energy which can really have an impact on the world? You need to build bridges of understanding among people, and we need to have America moving forward. That lesson learned have brought the strength of humanity to America, which is the diversity.
Mujahid Talks, only on Muslim Network TV. Faithfully connected.
Assalamu alaikum!
Open up your eyes.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, it's your brother Zain Bika from South Africa. One of the first educational programs ever produced for Muslim children was the ever popular Adam's World series. The colorful and comical Muslim puppets stole the heart of a generation. Sound Vision will be releasing brand new episodes of Adam's World with the launch of a Adam's World app. Subscribers will enjoy new Adam's World episodes as they are released, as well as all the classic episodes of Adam's World. So visit adamsworldapp.com now to learn more, subscribe, and enjoy new adventures of Adam and his friends. And let's keep helping tomorrow's Muslims today. Assalamu alaikum.
Adam's world. Believe me, there's a lot to see. Bismillah. Let's explore.
To stop this genocide, we need your help.
A New York State judge has held former U.S. President Donald Trump in contempt of court. That is for failing to hand over documents as part of an investigation. State Attorney General Letitia James said Trump must comply with an earlier court order mandating he turn over the documents or face a penalty of $10,000 per day. James said Trump has tried for years to evade the law and stop the investigation into his organization's financial dealings and business practices. Trump and his two eldest children, Donald Trump Jr. and Ivanka Trump, were subpoenaed by James's office in January as part of the probe. Connecticut's Bridgeport Public Schools this month declared Eid-Ul-Fitr an official school holiday starting next school year. It's the fourth time in history a Connecticut school district has recognized an Islamic holiday. Hamden, New Haven, and now Bridgeport schools will observe and take the day off for Eid-Ul-Fitr. Waterbury schools have recognized the holiday since 2015, but only excuse student absences on the day. In Bridgeport, a group of middle schoolers and the town's Muslim community championed the initiative. Ibrahim Jode, president of Masjid Al-Nur in Bridgeport, said the decision represents an important milestone in bringing equity and inclusion. Eid-Ul-Fitr is one of two major Islamic holidays and marks the end of the month of Ramadan. Elon Musk struck a deal Monday to buy Twitter for $44 billion. The move has people in Washington, D.C. concerned over the spread of fake news and hate speech. Some fear the world's richest man may control that content for his own purposes, while others welcome another voice. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said no matter who owns or runs Twitter, President Joe Biden is concerned about the power of large social media platforms. A Politico headline on the Twitter sales story reflects that concern, reading, "World's richest man buys free speech for $44 billion.
There's not several owners anymore, so that kind of gives him all the power over it. And I guess my thoughts are that things will probably get worse on Twitter if he's trying to open up freedom of speech, just because that allows room for fake news to spread, hate speech, stuff like that to happen, maybe more harassment. So I don't think I guess good things could come out of it, but I see the result being more negative than positive.
You know, for him to purchase it, that's his freedom to do that in the kind of society in which we live. However, we do have concerns about what presumably he would do in terms of relative to the
misinformation,
removing filters that would screen out misinformation.
Well, and his ability owning so much of it to control that content for his own purposes.
Exactly.
Rather than the benefit of the common good.
Yes, exactly.
Famed American textile designer Madeleine Weinrib has released a new collection in honor of New York's Metropolitan Museum of Art's reimagined Islamic wing. Called the Heirloom Project, it was time to celebrate the wing's 11th anniversary. It is a capsule collection of handmade accessories, fine jewelry, and housewares curated by Weinrib, who was also the collection's creative director. For 20 years, Weinrib ran her namesake fabric and home furnishings business, working with artisans in India, Morocco, and Turkey. But during the COVID-19 pandemic, as Weinrib sheltered in her Long Island beach home, many of her collaborators and artisans worldwide were out of work. She decided to help by working with them on the Heirloom Project. All items in the collection are available exclusively through the Met Store, with some available online. Coming up next after the break is our in-depth analysis segment, so stay tuned and we'll be right back after these messages.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Imam Malik Mujahid in Chicago. Just like you, I was moved by that Allahu Akbar lady. She stood her ground, fearful of none, for her hijab and for her education. Sisters and brothers, Indian Muslims are facing a genocide. India does not care for Muslim protesting, but it does care for the world opinion. Therefore, we must push the United Nations. The UN has a responsibility to protect. They must prevent genocide. Please sign this UN petition now. Get others to sign. It will help. Trust me, it will help. We need 1 million signatures, brothers and sisters. Please sign now.
Open up your eyes.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, it's your brother Zain Bika from South Africa. One of the first educational programs ever produced for Muslim children was the ever popular Adam's World series. The colorful and comical Muslim puppets stole the heart of a generation. Sound Vision will be releasing brand new episodes of Adam's World with the launch of a Adam's World app. Subscribers will enjoy new Adam's World episodes as they are released, as well as all the classic episodes of Adam's World. So visit adamsworldapp.com now to learn more, subscribe, and enjoy new adventures of Adam and his friends. And let's keep helping tomorrow's Muslims today. Assalamu alaikum.
Adam's world. Believe me, there's a lot to see. Bismillah. Let's explore.
Despite the development of a COVID-19 vaccine, millions around the world will not have access. We need a vaccine that's free and available to everyone, everywhere. It's time for a people's vaccine.
We are Justice for All. Headquartered in the heart of downtown Chicago, Justice for All is a global humanitarian initiative dedicated to raising awareness for human rights concerns impacting vulnerable minority groups. Our diverse team of staff and volunteers, led by Imam Malik Mujahid, work tirelessly to help Justice for All achieve their goals. We promote policies that protect religious freedom, address the root causes of mass displacement, and recognize the plight of refugees and forced migrants. Together, we can continue to stand up for justice. Justice for all.
Welcome back. To discuss the findings of the latest CARE report, let's go to Imam Abdul Malik Mujahid. Over to you, Imam Mujahid.
Thank you, Samana. CARE is saying that anti-Muslim discrimination and hate is on the rise. To discuss that with us is Edward Ahmed Mitchell, Deputy Director of CARE National. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Imam. Good to see you. Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan Kareem, few days left.
Yes, mashallah.
Share with us, what are the salient features of this latest report from CARE?
So yeah, again, thank you for having us, Imam. So for the better part of almost 30 years, CARE has released an annual civil rights report to document and detail the type of discrimination complaints that our national office and our chapters have received over the prior year. The new report is called Still Suspect: The Impact of Structural Islamophobia. This report documents the complaints we received in 2021. Now, the headline, I think, of this is that we received a total of 6,720 complaints related to everything from immigration, travel complaints, law enforcement overreach complaints, employment discrimination, school incidents, prisoner rights, and then general complaints. Again, a total of 6,720. That's the largest number of complaints that CARE has ever recorded. In the past 28 years, we have never received a larger number of complaints than that.
But does that account for CARE becoming more efficient, or Muslims are filing more complaints as compared to the actual rise in crimes?
I think that does account for the big difference between, for example, 2001 and 2010 and 2021. Part of it is that there are more care chapters now. The community is more engaged now, and so we're getting more complaints. But obviously, events have a big role to play in that. After 9/11, we saw a spike in hate crimes and discrimination that led to a rise in complaints to our office. The same thing after 2010, and of course, after the Trump era. The key thing to note is that the numbers that we got in 2021 are higher than the prior numbers. It's a 9% increase from the prior year. Now, there was no change in the number of CARE chapters between that 1 year period, no change in our reporting becoming more efficient. So something happened that led to an almost 10% increase over a 1 year period. Now, the report details a few explanations for this. One is that between 2020 and 2021, there was a huge increase in complaints related to immigration and travel discrimination. That is largely potentially a result of people returning to travel as the pandemic subsided in 2021. More people flying, therefore more people running into anti-Muslim discrimination at the airport compared to 2020. So that's a possible explanation for why there was such a huge increase there. But some of the other numbers, though, it's not clear why there was an increase or a slight drop. It must, we believe, have to do with circumstances, that there is some anti-Muslim bigotry that is systemic in government policy and therefore persistent, no matter who's president, that type of bigotry, especially when it comes to law enforcement overreach, the watch list, the no-fly list, FBI interviews, that sort of thing is just persistent and seems to be increasing.
But Edward Mitchell, CARE has been around for a while, and it has been fighting against the profiling and outreach, extraordinary police focus, as well as no-fly list and all of that. Why 20 years since 9/11, these things still continue to be present?
Yeah. Sadly, the national security state that developed in the years after 9/11 is a massive behemoth. It's almost like an ocean liner, and it's very hard to get an ocean liner to change direction. Now, the nice thing is that we have had some successes. The community, for example, I think successfully got the government to stop the INSEERS program, which targeted many innocent members of our community. Obviously, the Muslim ban was repealed. That's a good thing. And now the law is increasingly on our side. CARE won a major courtroom victory against the watch list a few years ago. We're still fighting that battle right now. And we've been able to successfully get every single person who contacted us for help, and we filed a lawsuit to get them off the no-fly list. We've got a 100% success rate in getting innocent Muslims off the no-fly list once we file a lawsuit. So those are good things. Those are positive things, alhamdulillah. But the problem is that you have a very entrenched system, a system in place that, again, no matter who the president is, that system is still there. And so what it's going to require to change this is systemic change in government policy, and the government is very resistant to making those changes willingly. That's why we're in court fighting these things, and that takes time, and it takes effort, and it takes resources, and it takes more victories in court.
Is the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, is the main entity which is cause of these issues with the Muslim community?
It's one of them, but the FBI is not part of DHS, and that's also a major contributor to this problem. For example, the watch list that originates with the FBI, the no-fly list. The FBI plays a huge role in who is on that list, the innocent people on that list. So it's Homeland Security, it's the FBI, it's even intelligence agencies that are then passing faulty information on to these agencies. So it's, when I say it's a behemoth, and it's an interconnected system, I really mean that. It is the national security state kind of run amok and overreaching. And again, that's not to say that everything they do is wrong, right? Yes, it's very important to keep the nation safe and protect people from legitimate threats, but we've seen too many instances of innocent people. People have never been charged with a crime, never convicted of anything, even children being put on these lists because, again, the system itself is faulty, and there's no due process to get someone off the list if they've been wrongfully put on one of these overbroad lists. So yeah, it's DHS, it's FBI, but it's the whole system.
Is there a way to know whose name is on the list? I mean, you cannot. There's no system you're saying to get off the list, but is there a way to know who is on the list except show up at the airport and told that way?
Exactly. So what's happening is that we have clients who come to us after experiencing the constant abuse at the airport. They're pulled aside for secondary screening, sniffed by dogs. Their stuff is searched over and over again. That's just domestically. If they're traveling internationally, they're pulled aside for hours-long interview. They're asked invasive questions about their travels, their faith, their politics. Their phone is forcibly taken from them, and that happens over and over again. And so when CARE sues, then we find out that they're on a list. and that's why they're being targeted. But short of filing a lawsuit or complaint, there's no easy way to even know you're on the list except for you to experience this sort of abusive behavior, and that's a classic sign that you are on some sort of list. If you're at screening and the guy checking your passport looks down and says, I need you to go that way, chances are your name is showing up somewhere on some sort of government list, and often without good reason.
Now, considering Department of Homeland Security and Justice Department are the two main departments of the government, which are cause or concern, is there a dialogue between CARE and Department of Homeland Security?
Yes. In fact, thankfully, just a few weeks ago, we were able to reach out to the Department of Homeland Security after CBP, that is Customs and Border Protection, had engaged in abusive behavior towards a Muslim civic leader. And we expected they were going to engage in similar abusive behavior towards another Muslim leader who was flying back into the country after attending a similar event. We reached out to CBP to complain, and they actually ended up ensuring that second Muslim leader was not abused, was not targeted. And we're doing that sort of targeted action, reaching out to CBP when we can to help particular people. So yes, that dialogue does happen, is an open dialogue. But again, the system is what it is. Even if you've got good civil servants who want to do something different, the system has to change. And that requires, yes, advocacy, but it also requires a lawsuit. And so that's why we're in court, with multiple lawsuits against the system, because talking nice to people only gets you so far. At some point, you got to put your foot down and drag someone into court to get some action.
That's very good. But you mentioned a case for which there was some communication with DHS. But what about entering into conversation with the policymakers that these are the systemic problems which we have while you have a lawsuit? A stick and carrot. Carrot being a dialogue, a stick being a lawsuit.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have done that, and we are doing that. But again, those changes have not happened yet, and therefore we sue. So when President Biden took office, for example, the U.S. Council of Muslim Organizations released their 100-day agenda for the Biden administration and listed a number of policies that we thought the administration should adopt. And that included reining in the national security state and some of this overreach. Now, some of the things in that agenda, the president did adopt, and we thank him for that. But many of those things, including the systemic things that need to be changed, have not been changed. And we can't sit around waiting that they're going to do the right thing. We've got to go into action. And that's why we're in court. But at the same time, yes, those policy discussions are occurring. We're advocating for those, but we're not holding our breath.
Well, thank you so much, Brother Edward Ahmad Mitchell, Deputy Director of CARE National.
Thank you, Imam.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Back to you, Samana.
Thank you, Imam Mujahid. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can find previous episodes and more on our YouTube or Facebook. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Salam and good night.